Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is MK, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about XRP or Ripple. We're just going to kind of clean up the chart. We're not going to talk about anything too crazy, just some significant levels on the weekly and the daily as far as price levels, previous support and resistance, a green box area that I'm going to focus on in today's video that was previously, support and resistance at major times in XRP's history that it most recently is using as support. And then we're going to zoom into the daily and talk about a level that we're eyeing for a breakout, a confirmed breakout, which I will explain in this video what would be a confirmed breakout to me, for a max gain potential if it confirms the breakout of between 25 and possibly 35%. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. Alright, we're just going to try to work our way through this as smoothly as possible. Now, this is the XRP weekly chart. This is where I wanted to begin to kind of explain why zoomed out XRP is looking pretty good to me right now. And the reason being mainly we're going to focus on is this green box. Now, this green box has had a lot of history and interaction, which I will go over here real quick. So dating back to the previous bull run, so you have price action right here between May of 2017 and when the blow-off top happened for crypto in late December, early January, December for XRP in this case of 2017, so just later that year. You had XRP consolidating in this giant symmetrical triangle where basically the top of this green box, and if you want to make this green box even a little bit bigger, we could do this actually too, right up to here. More or less, it was using the top of this green box as resistance. What the heck am I doing here? Okay, it was using the top of this green box as resistance, and then then it bounced, resistance, bounced, resistance, bounced, and eventually, when it broke out of that symmetrical triangle at the end of the bull run, it had its huge explosion to the upside, right? Well, after XRP came all the way back down between that blow-off top and when it first interacted with this green box again, which was August of 2018, so summertime, kind of similar time frame as to where we're at now. And this, we're late July right now, going into August. You had its first, bounce from this green box where it put in a little double bottom, kind of similar to what's happening now, little double bottom, which you'll be able to see a little clearer here in a second when I turn on the line chart. But you had a little double bottom there, and then, of course, it went on this little rally here that, ultimately saw about 200%, actually. And then later, this green box, again, you had a rally of about 65%. Then you later had one final rally of about 75% before ultimately it rolled over. And at the time, it was consolidating inside of what you could basically say it was like a symmetrical triangle. You can kind of see the triangle here, and eventually it lost the underside of it, retested it as resistance, which again is just this green box. So this green box has a ton of history. It's either been major resistance, or once broken, it's acted as major support and often led to some pretty large rallies. Again, when this triangle broke down, right here in September of 2019, and then retested and became, this green box became resistance, well, then it formed this falling wedge that it was in for a while, which eventually broke to the upside, went on a good rally, came back down. Now, it lost the green box temporarily, but it did retest this wedge, reflipped it as support, and off it goes again, right? And then it retests here. Anyway, so you can kind of see though that the history of XRP is interacted on several occasions with this green box, and often it's either been major resistance like it was back here and during the bear market of 2020 and 2019, or a major support as it was during all these rallies I just spoke of. And so that's what we're interacting with right now, which to me, especially with everything being beaten down as much as it has, it looks like it can at least be a good midterm hold, and I'll explain why midterm, maybe not long. Well, it could be a good long-term hold too, especially being down. Let's see how much it's down since its most recent high. Since its most recent high, it's down right now 80%. So I mean, usually if something that you believe in crypto is going to come back, if you can get it somewhere between 80 and 95% down, that could be considered a good area to target long term. But as far as just maybe a short to midterm hold with this most recent break of this green box, right, and it's even retesting it as we speak on this week's candle as support. Well, you have this other trend line I've drawn, which is kind of this most recent symmetrical triangle that we're in. You can kind of see that there's this zone here that previously was being support, as it created this large symmetrical triangle where it got rejected, bounced, rejected, rejected, bounced, rejected, and ultimately lost it. Well, it's never really retested it on the weekly. So at the very least, if Bitcoin's going to see some more upside, you could see some upside out of XRP, at least back up to the bottom side or top side of that zone. Right, the bottom side being the safer target, and we'll zoom in a minute and kind of show you what I think would be good, zoomed in entry ideas. Now, obviously, your zoomed out entry idea, if you get any sort of a pullback out of Bitcoin that sees this go back to this green box, and then Bitcoin looks like it's finding support, that would be your best entry, be back down around 33 to 33.5 cents. But if you don't get that, we'll explain another entry option that I'm looking for. But you can see the top side of this previous symmetrical triangle, or this trend line at the moment, has been resistance 3 times. And right now, if XRP were to run higher, over the next week or two, you could see, as much as 25, 35, maybe, 30 to 35% gain potential to be which could end up just being a bearish retest, right, of the underside of that before ultimately failing, and, maybe then we go even lower and start to do something similar that the last bear market did, where it forms kind of a falling wedge or something. But let's zoom into the 4-hour chart real quick now and just kind of explain what I'm looking at. In fact, we'll use the daily. We'll do the daily chart, kind of zoom in here and just look at what we're looking at here, show you what I'm looking at. So you have this trend line that even on the daily acted as resistance once, twice, 3 and 4 times right along here, 5th time, 6th time. So very, very obvious resistance, right? And then it broke a body above, closed the next body above as well. And so that would be considered the breakout retest. And then, ultimately it pushed higher and went on a little rally recently of, around to its top, almost 15%, 12 to 15%, right? Well, what we're looking at now is it's hit this zone, which back here was acting as support on the daily, and then it lost it, and then ultimately that became the resistance here. Then the trend line, took over at that point, became the resistance. But at any rate, this was the range it was in previously. This is the most recent range it's still in. So it made sense for this to get rejected here the first time. And it's getting rejected as we speak a second time, just because Bitcoin's obviously overheated and other reasons. But what I'm looking for an entry on the daily would be a break, similar to what we saw on that weekly where I explained that you had or actually right here on this retest. Let's zoom back out. This is what you want to see for, a potential midterm hold, at least up to that resistance we spoke about. So this is what I consider a breakout. You want to see volume. I don't have the volume indicator on right now, but you want to first see a daily candle body close above major resistance, and then you want the second daily candle that follows it to also close above that same resistance. If you zoom in, this likely there was probably a retest that happened on the 4-hour time frame, but you want to see that retest as well. So what we want to see is this level where no daily candles have closed above, which is about 37.5 cents since clear back here, in mid-June. We want to see a body of a candle break above this with volume to support the breakout, and then we want the following candle to hopefully retest it at some point, but the body of that candle to also close above it. At that point, I'd put a stop loss, maybe just back below like this wick and this wick, so something down here, maybe something along the lines of, say, 30. We can even go below 30. Maybe back down below 35 cents. Maybe the wick of that candle would make sense. Something like that. Back down here to 34.5 cents. And then, hopefully just ride it higher. And you might get that push we're talking about back up to this green box, which depending on where it breaks out, if it doesn't break out for another, week or something, the longer it takes, the closer this trend line gets. So, if it don't break out till middle of August, then you're looking at, 32% gains. Maybe it doesn't break out till, end of August, then your max gains would only be 20%. But depending on if you're using leverage, which I'll leave a link in the description for my video that kind of goes over the basics of how to trade leverage, or depending on the amount you're putting in just on spot, which is how I plan to trade this, that could still see, some pretty good gains to the upside. You put, say, $1,000 into it, at that level, and you get 20%, that's still $200. That's pretty good profit, right? A lot better than your savings account that your bank's going to give you. So just something to keep an eye on, and I'll keep you guys updated in some future videos. Also, I'll leave a link in the description to my Telegram group in case you guys want to join that, and I'll give more up-to-date analysis on it over the next couple days, 2 weeks, or specifically if and when that breaks out and retests and flips that level of 37.5 cents as support. And that should wrap it up for today. If you guys are liking the content, as always, please do me a gigantic favor and remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. It's tea.